Good evening, student. Yesterday, we ended our lesson, that is page number 94. When Mrs. Gleason came around with the release tray, we each took another stalk of celery, except my brother. He took 2. So, in the last class, we came to know that when Mrs. Gleason came with the release tray, her parents and the writer, they took one celery, but the writer's brother took 2 celeries. So student, in today's class we are going to see, you see page number 94. There was only one problem. Long strings ran to the length of the stalk and they got caught in my teeth. When I helped my mother in the kitchen, always pull the strings out before slicing celery. Now here the writer is telling that there was only one problem about and that problem was long strings ran to the length of the stalk and they got caught in the writer's teeth, because there were long strings in the celery and those long strings used to get caught in the writer's teeth, and the writer used to help her mother in the kitchen. And always, what the work the writer used to do, the writer used to always pulls the string out before they used to slice the celery. And before slicing the celery, they used to pull the string out of the celery. I pull the strings out of my stalk. Chip, 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 chip. And here the writer was telling that she pulled out the string of her stalk, and from there sound was coming out, and that sound was what? Chet, chet, chip, chet, chet, chip, chet, 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 chip. And her brother also followed the suit, and from there also the same sound was coming out. To my left, my parents were taking care of their own stock, and the writer was telling that her mother and father were also taking care of their own stock, and that is the sound jet, jet, chip, jet, jet, chip, jet, jet, chip. Suddenly I realized that there was dead silence except for our chipping. Looking up, I saw that the eyes of everyone in the room were on our family. Mr. and Mrs. Gleason, their daughter Meg, who was my friend, and their neighbors, the Baddles, they were all staring at us. We busily pulled the strings of our celery. Now, suddenly what happened, you see, the writer realized. And after realizing, the writer came to know that there was complete silence. And complete silence means there was no a word also they could able to hear. And only the sound they could hear was their chipping sound. And as soon as the writer looked up, she saw that eyes of everyone in the room were on our family, and the members, those were present in the dinner party, all those people were looking at them to them only, because they were busy in chipping. Mr. and Mrs. Gleason, the daughter Meg, who was my friend, and the neighbors, the Baddles, and Mr. and Mrs. Gleason, and Meg, and the neighbors, that is the Baddles, they all were looking at us while they were busy in pulling the string out of the celery. That wasn't the end of it, Mrs. Gleason announced that dinner was served and invited us to the dining table. It was lavishly covered with platters of food, but we couldn't see any chairs around the table. So we helpfully carried over some dining chairs and sat down. All the other guests just stood there. Now, here the writer was telling that that wasn't the end of it. Means after taking the salary was not the end. Now, after taking the salary, what happened? You see, Mrs. Gleason announced that dinner was served. Means they are going to serve the dinner, and Mrs. Gleason invited all the guests to the dining table, and it was lavishly covered with platters. Means it was in large number, and all the things, all the edibles or all the food uh, was covered with what? Platters, and all the food was covered with large plate. But here the writer was telling that they could not able to see any chairs around the table. Means there were no chairs, and she was surprised to see that they were asked to the dining table to come, but they could not able to see any chairs around the table, and therefore the writer was very much surprised. So we helpfully carried over some dining chairs and sat down. Now what they did? Now the Chinese family, what did they do? They carried some of the chairs, some of the dining chairs near the dining table, and they sat down. Now there was a surprise that all the other guests just stood there. But all the other guests were standing, only their family was sitting on the chairs. Mrs. Gleason bent down and whispered to us, "This is a buffet dinner. You help yourself to some food and eat it in the living room." Now, Mrs. Gleason bent to them and she whispered to them. She said to them that this is a buffet dinner. Means buffet dinner means you know only that is not served by other. Buffet dinner we have to take by ourselves. And here the writer was telling that you help yourself to some food. Means you have to take the food by yourself and you have to eat it in the living room. Our family beat a retreat back to the sofa as if chased by enemy soldiers. For the rest of the evening, too ashamed to go back to the dining table, I nursed a bit of potato salad on my plate. Now, as soon as they came to know from Mrs. Gleason that this is a buffet dinner and you have to serve by yourself, then what happened? You see, their family moved so fast to the sofa that somebody might have chased them, because they felt ashamed. And as soon as the words whispered by Mrs. Gleason, they went back to their sofa, and for the rest of the evening to attempt to go back for the dining table. And now they were feeling very much ashamed to go back to the dining table, because at first they thought that with the help of the chair they will sit near the dining table and they will serve by somebody, but that is not. And what happened? You see, I nursed a bit of potato salad on my plate. Now the writer was eating a bit of potato salad She took the bit of potato salad on her plate and she was eating very slowly. That is what? Potato salad. Next day, Meg and I got on the school bus together. I wasn't sure how she would feel about me after the spectacle. Our family had made of themselves at the party, but she was just the same as usual, and the only reference she made to the party was, I hope you and your folks got enough to last night. You certainly didn't take very much. Mom never tries to figure out how much food to prepare. She just puts everything on the table and hopes for the best. Now, on the next day, what happened? You see, Meg and the writer got on the school bus together. And now Meg was telling, I wasn't sure how she would feel about me after the spectacle of her family had met up themselves at the party. Now here the writer was telling that, not Meg, writer was telling that she was not sure that how she would feel about her after the strange scene of the family member had met up themselves at the last party. But she was as normal. She was just the same as usual, means she was not behaving any in different way because she was just as usual, means normal. And the only reference she made to the party was, I hoped you and your folk got enough to last night. And here Meg was telling that she hoped you and your folk got enough to eat last night. You certainly did not take very much. And Meg was telling that in the dinner party, you did not take too much of food. And at the same time, Meg was telling that mom never tries to figure out how much food to prepare because, and at the same time, Meg was telling that mom never tries means she has no idea how much food she had to prepare for how many members, means she had not too much idea, means mom never tries to figure out how much food to prepare. She just put everything on the table and hopes for the best. And she was telling that mom put the food everything on the table, and that one will be the best for everybody. Like that, she used to think like that. Meg was telling to the writer. At it, I began to relax. The Gleasons' dinner party wasn't so different from our Chinese meal after all. My mother also puts everything on the table and hopes for the best. Now, at the time, what happened, you see? I began to relax. Means now the writer was getting relaxed because the writer was thinking that means all might have laughed at them. But when make it easy about the last dinner party, then the writer was feeling very much relaxed. The Galatians' dinner party wasn't so different from a Chinese meal after all. Now she was telling that the Galatian dinner party wasn't so different, means it was not so different from a Chinese meal after all. My mother also puts everything on the table and hopes for the best. And the writer was also telling that her mother also puts everything on the table and she also hopes for the best, like that the writer was telling. And student, you see, with this only the chapter ends. Now the story continued with the narrator's family inviting the Galatian for dinner. And you have to read the book because this is only an extract only, so you have to read the whole story, means you have to read the whole book, then only you'll come to know that how the Gleason family was invited by the Chinese family, and the Gleasons found it difficult to eat with chopstick. Means in the last we are coming to know that in the Chinese family, when the Gleasons were invited, then they were feeling they were feeling difficult to eat with chopstick, and they felt as uncomfortable as the narrator's family had felt at their place. Now with the help of the chopstick, now the Gleason family was also feeling uncomfortable as the Chinese family felt at their place. The narrator discovered to her pleasant surprise. The same things were common between the two families. And here the narrator discovered to her pleasant surprise that some things were common between the two families, because there were some common thing between the two families. If the Chinese slurp their soup, the American slurp their milkshakes. And here with this only the chapter gets end. Student, thank you.